Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
All right, new segment alert. New segment alert here on Mackie and Judd, the original SKOR North podcast. We've been bringing back some of our fun old radio show segments here on Mackie and Judd, and I do have a random season recall for you that we're gonna go back to. Marty in St. Elmo had sent us these pro football preview magazines from like the early 80s.
I've got a few still.
We will go through random season recalls, see what they were saying about the Vikings here. But new segment alert, themes from the week. Themes from the week, just things that we've hit on throughout the week on the various podcasts. Could be Purple Daily, Judd's Hockey Show, Flagrant Howls, whatever, Twin Show, that warrant putting a pin in, circling back to them, for lack of a better phrase. So I want to drill deeper down into some questions about the all JAG Vikings team exercise coming up on Monday on Purple Daily. But first, a shout out to golfers. Meadows at Mystic could be a great. I don't know. Maybe you're looking for a golf course this weekend when it's 85 degrees. Yeah, we found one for you.
My favorite type of golf weather. Give me that heat, baby. Golfthemeadows.com to book that next tee time. Also, you can enjoy a cold one on their humongous, amazing patio. Right after your round, you grab a cold one. They have some tap beers there. Plus, their pro shop is fully stocked. Sometimes you run into a pro shop and there's only like a sleeve of balls there, and you're all frustrated. At the Meadows of Mystic Lake, they have an extensive pro shop with shirts and apparel and golf balls, tees, all your needs there. Go to golfthemeadows.com to book that next tee time. That's golfthemeadows.com.
Love it. So, okay, there's been some questions about this all JAG team exercise that we're about to dive into on Purple Daily this upcoming Monday, because we did the all quarter century team, and now we're going to do the just a guy parameters are for this Monday. Do you guys have any questions about? I almost feel like we should take some time to just hone the parameters and the rules here so that we aren't doing so on Monday. Do you guys have any questions about what a JAG is or what we will be doing on Monday's Purple Daily? Because I think like we had a listener tell us that Jim Kleinsasser should be on the all JAG.
I think we've honed that. I think it's got to be a guy who was not a complete bust and disaster. Might have contributed, but definitely is not. Like Jim Kleinsasser played for a long time and he didn't do a lot of things statistically, perhaps, but he did a lot of things. So I think I'm pretty clear on what a JAG is.
Is he in the Ring of Honor?
No.
Nobody could be. He contributed.
He is like a candidate for that. You know,
they got a few guys that they really should put in.
Yeah. But so right now, what I have down for the parameters of this upcoming exercise on Monday is a JAG, or just a guy. It's a football term. Is a player who is highly replaceable, but still a professional player.
Yep.
So it's a guy that it's not a complete slappy, it's not a total bust, but on the flip side, he's nowhere near an All-Pro or a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Yep.
So it's that space in between, and the name that I keep using is Bobby Wade. Like Bobby Wade was a professional wide receiver.
Yep.
Nowhere near all-pro caliber, not a disaster, just a professional. He'll catch you 50 passes, but he's
a Viking too.
Yep.
JAGs as a Viking. So if they were Pro Bowlers elsewhere, like they came here, they had been a Pro Bowl player, but then they were just a guy here, they qualify despite their previous Pro Bowl selection elsewhere.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, you had asked a question about what do we do with like first-round picks that were maybe disappointing? Do we factor in what their expectations were? And you could think of a bunch of different examples. I feel like we shouldn't consider where you were drafted. I feel like it's like whether you were a first-round pick or a seventh-round pick. I mean, not to spoil the exercise, but like Gus Frerotte was a seventh-rounder, not by the Vikings. And Teddy Bridgewater was a first-rounder, but you could make the case that both those guys' productivity on the field are JAGs. Like, they're just kind of...
Yeah.
They're guys. Like, they're not a disaster, but they're not Pro Bowlers.
As I did my list, I guess I eliminated, just in thinking about this exercise, I eliminated certainly Troy Williamson based on the fact that he really wasn't a good player and he was a first round pick. Like he might have been a Jag as a 6th-round pick. So in that sense, I don't think he's a Jag.
But that runs antithetical to what I just said.
No, I know,
I'm
but
not
I mean,
considering where like Troy Williamson, regardless of where he was drafted, I think is below a Jag. I think he was just a bad player.
Right. And Erasmus James, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like were were they real pros? Not really. So yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't really. They didn't. Yeah, because you had to be. I mean, Bobby Wade's a great one because he was a very professional, productive player, but he also was not here a Pro Bowl guy.
Yeah.
He was a meat and potatoes guy, but I think he falls perfectly into that.
Like you can field a professional offense with Bobby Wade as your number 1 or number 2 receiver.
Right.
You can't field a professional offense with Troy Williamson as your number 1 or number 2. But at the same time, you're not going to win the Super Bowl in all likelihood with Bobby Wade as your number 1 wide receiver.
So
it's a Jag.
And we talked about this earlier as well, but I feel like Jim Kleinsasser, because we, to your point, asked about him. I feel like Jim Kleinsasser is not a Jag because yes, he was a meat and potatoes guy, but he also did a lot for a long time here, and I thought was too productive in his role. So like it's a fine line, but I feel like I know a Jag when I see one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a
KJ Osborne, not to spoil the episode. KJ Osborne.
Yeah.
Jag.
Yeah.
Very much.
A 5th-round pick that was totally fine in his role as the number 3 dude in an offense, and he literally was just a guy in the Vikings offense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good parameter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He is on my big board.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely on my big board. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to find that there is, because these guys were productive but not great. I think we're going to find there's a lot of 3rd receiver candidates, from the Vikings 3.
Yep.
So like KJ Osborne, what was the guy's name?
Jarius Wright?
Yes. He's a perfect Jag because I liked him and he ran really crisp.
We
good
thought
routes,
he was more than a
but
Jag.
he was a 3.
Yeah.
You know, that's another episode. Guys you thought were better than a Jag, but then at the end of the day, you were wrong. They're a Jag.
We as fan bases have a tendency, I feel like, to fall in love and elevate 3rd receivers as much as any position.
If he was just given the same volume of targets
he'll
as
just
the
bump
number
up to
1,
2.
he'll just be a 2,000-yard guy.
Yeah, I feel like that position, because if you play it well, you look good. But then there's a lot of guys who get that chance, like they go sign, like KJ Osborne did with the Patriots.
Who people were like
they
Vikings.
fail.
There's some Vikings fans were pissed. Like, how could you?
I know.
You have to extend him. How could you?
He was dude, on 3rd and 4, if you needed a first down, Jarius Wright for 5 yards. There it is, right there.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
Every time.
And nothing more than that. But we tried to say, well, if you got a chance,
the Leroy horde of wide receivers. Just if you need
I was debating him, by the way.
If you need the 3 yards, I'll get you 3. If you need 4 yards, I'll get you 3. It's the same thing with Jarius Wright. You need the first down, I will be right there at the sticks, ready to go.
Yep.
Boy, yeah, I don't want to do the whole Leroy horde conversation here because let's save some of this for the actual exercise on Monday's Purple Daily.
So have we agreed that we're going to start this circa 1990s?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a good question. The exercise it's open to all Vikings in history, but I think just based on how old we are and how old like the majority of the audience is, if we go further back into the I think there's going to be some guys in like the 80s that maybe pop into this. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll get some older listeners and viewers that are like, what about this guy from the 70s? And I don't know, like Declan and I don't have any conscious memories of the 70s or the 80s, so it's hard for us to.
I really don't have much to offer in terms of Jags pre-2000.
Yeah.
I just don't have much to offer.
I got a bucket of linebackers
I
from the
bet you
90s.
do, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's some great linebackers.
But I feel like the 2000 on is just
on.
in itself a lot of fun.
Yeah,
just from the 2000 season. So
I feel like we're well prepared for this exercise coming up on Monday.
It's going to take a while too, because it's like my list is like I told you guys yesterday, like 40.
Book an hour episode.
40.
We will book an hour. Okay. More themes from the week here across our podcast. So I sense that both of you guys are highly annoyed by the NBA was the trigger for this with the stretch provision that Damian Lillard was a victim of. Not even a victim, he gets his money. The second apron, the first apron, free agency, and then we started talking about some of the other leagues. So I'd love to offer you guys more of a playground here to express your frustration with how confusing these leagues are getting when it comes to contracts and player movement and the rules and the restrictions and the cap and the ramifications. Like, what are your biggest pet peeves?
I mean, the whole thing. I just don't understand what the first and second apron even sometimes means. And the whole thing with Dame now being, what is it called? Stretched? What is it?
The stretch
provision. Okay, that's fine. Like I actually understand mostly what's happening there. But now, because if he's going to be a free agent, like can he only sign for the vet minimum?
No, I think. Well,
that's what I don't understand.
I'm gonna answer. So real quick, just for those who maybe weren't hanging by our every word on Flagrant Howls this week, the stretch provision is when a team says, "Oh man, we are screwed with that contract. We like Damian Lillard, torn Achilles. He's 35. We're desperately trying to find some players that can play this year with Giannis, so he doesn't leave. So what can we do with his 2 years and $112 million left?" Well, the stretch provision allows you, instead of just like dealing with the contract and sorry, you're screwed, you can take the 2 years left, you multiply the years left on the contract by 2 and add a year. So now it's 5 years and you get to stretch the cap hit out over 5 years instead of 2 so that you have some more space to play with. They go get Miles Turner, et cetera, et cetera.
Get it.
To your question, so Damian Lillard, I believe, is now he's just a free agent. He's getting paid the $112 million over 2 years. He's a free agent. So I think if every team had cap space, there'd be like another market for him. Like he would be able to sign for more money. But the problem is in the NBA right now, in part because very few teams had cap space going into free agency, and now the teams that did, like the Pistons, the Nets, have spent their money. So I think he can only sign for a vet minimum, or if a team has what's called a mid-level exception. It's like an exception for you're over the cap, but here's like a little loophole for you to sign someone for either $5.5 million if you are a tax-paying team, or $14 million if you are a non-tax-paying team.
And that's another thing.
Does any of that make sense?
That's another thing, though. Mid-level exception. Just
That's
like...
That's been around
and
forever.
I know that's been around.
I'm not fighting
That's not
that
new.
one.
That's not new. I'm not saying that's new.
Why is it called
Why?
the mid-level exception?
Because you're sort of a slappy.
How about, what if we called it a loophole to allow teams that didn't budget well
Here's what.
to
Who would
still
love the
sign
mid-level
players?
exception? The Minnesota Twins. Like every player, I feel like is a mid-level exception. Like what is it?
Here's my problem. My
It's
problem,
stupid.
My problem though is it goes so deep that like last night it pops up on Twitter that it turns out the Rockets Suns trade, the Durant trade, is going to become a 7-team trade, and so you're like, oh my god, what's going to? And it's
Like,
just like
why? Yeah.
they're just attaching things. Like that's the thing is it's so convoluted. Like I can handle buyouts. Buyouts are buyouts. Okay, I can handle the structure of what you're allowed to sign for, because in this league that's been around. It's the new CBA has all of this crap that is so like shoved into it. It's like, and why does this become a 7-team trade when it really is going to mean nothing? Like the Timberwolves are involved in this trade, but it's with deals that they've made. Can somebody explain the incentive?
I think part of it is as you go down, it's hard to make trades in the NBA in some cases, period, because you have to match. This is another thing that it makes it hard, and other sports are guilty too. Like, it's funny because baseball is actually the simplest because there is no salary cap, there's no aprons, you can just sign player, there's no parameters whatsoever. If you want to sign a guy to a 15-year contract, and what they do with Shohei and like divert the payments into the future.
Which
wasn't like 2 days ago we celebrated Bobby Bonilla Day again, who makes $1 million every year until like 2033.
Yep.
Baseball's problem is there's not enough structure, so there's nothing happens. Everything is spread out over like 4 months, and There's no week of at least in the NBA and the NHL's case and football, because there's structure. Things happen within like a week, and trades are made, and players are signing and whatnot. But it is hard for casual fans to have a discussion about, because you could say, what if they traded this guy for this guy? And then, nerds like me come in and say, well, actually, if you look at the Suns, they're a second apron team, so the salary matching.
Salary caps, I have zero problem with. Baseball needs one. It helps. Like, it influences signing periods, which is important. It keeps a competitive balance of sorts.
Yeah.
But the NBA, it's like they decided, let's make this as confusing as possible. So now it's impossible to figure out what the hell teams are doing based on that. Like football with a soft cap, right? Football has, and it's got a ton of nuanced crap, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
And there seems
football's a hard cap, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can play with the cap, though. Way more, it feels like, than basketball.
But you can't go over the cap. You can manipulate the contract.
Right, but you can have, that it's a more, I shouldn't have said soft. It's a more manipulative environment for contracts. But the NBA is also just thrown in crap that makes it gums it up.
Yeah. So would you rather deal with the confusion of like the NBA's multiple aprons and provisions and exceptions, or the NFL where contracts don't really mean what they are
I'd rather deal with
reported to mean?
I'd rather deal with that.
And like a signing bonus can get prorated over the duration of the contract, but the player
I would like it to be in the NBA. The most confusing thing should be the bird rules, the bird rights, which have been around forever.
Right.
But let's stop there. So you can keep a guy and you can exceed the cap with that guy, but then you're going to go. But now it's like the bird rights are the simplest thing. I get that.
The bird rights being that
you can exceed
for your own player.
Yep.
You are able to re-sign that player even if you are over the cap.
Yeah. Correct.
So that you can keep your team together.
The only thing I think the NBA gets right, and this is just judging from like when I do watch Dane Moore when he tweets out the things. I think where they have this absolutely correct is like each player, right, is only eligible. Like Naz Reid was only eligible for this amount of money.
Yeah.
Right. That part I actually think makes a lot of sense because now you know that when this player hits free agency, he can only make this. But then you have the Wild West in baseball where Ohtani might get $700 million and, Joe Ryan might only get $50 million. Like that part is complete chaos. I actually respect the NBA's part of that. That part makes sense. The apron part and the trading with teams and the matching money, and you can do this with the first apron. Your mid-level exception does this with the second apron. Yeah. That part is completely messy.
I would love for baseball to have, a salary cap would clear up a lot of this stuff. But in basketball, when pick your star player. When like Kevin Durant becomes a free agent or anyone, okay, he's eligible for anything up to a super max contract or a max contract before you get to a certain age or point in your career. And there is literally no negotiation over the contract parameters. It's just like, well, that guy's awesome. So he's eligible for like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. All right, well, he's the next guy up. He's the MVP, and so he's eligible for a 5-year, $250 million contract or whatever it is. In baseball, when Bryce Harper was up, and I think it wound up being a 13-year contract, there were literally no parameters by which to negotiate. There's no salary cap. Like the NHL just came in again and said, actually, we're going to reduce. You can only sign players to like 7-year contracts or whatever it is. So if you're Scott Boras and you're negotiating a contract, you say, cool, all right, I've got the best player in baseball. He's 26 years old. We want a 20-year contract. And teams are like, well, no, that's dumb. We'll do a 6-year contract.
So one team was like, oh, we'll do it.
Yeah. And the Twins are like, we don't need a physical. We don't even check out your foot or your ankle. It'll be great.
Looks good to me.
Anyways. Glad you guys got a forum to get that off your chest, and I agree with
just simplify.
It.
Just simplify.
And every sport has it. Like baseball with Super Twos, or did they get rid of Super Twos? Is Super Two gone?
I feel like they may have gotten rid of Super.
I think they did
in the CBA. They did a couple of years ago.
But then still, there's like the manipulation still happens with team control, and that's confusing. In hockey, there's now like the new trade deadline cap space that you accrue. Like what?
Oh, that's gone.
Vegas, that's gone now. Vegas Golden Knights can just have a bunch of studs that are on injured reserve. Then all of a sudden they're fielding a team that's like $20 million over the cap in the playoffs because now everything is wiped. Everything is wiped.
That's out.
Sports.
But I feel like right now the NBA is making it really difficult to understand what the hell is going on at times.
Yeah. Okay, it's time for some random season recall here, courtesy of our friend Marty in Lake Elmo. We thumbed through these. So he mailed us the 1982 and 1983 Don Heinrich Pro Football Preview magazines, and I'd love to go through and see what they're saying about the Vikings. But you would these same ones, like you'd go and
I bet you. Oh yeah,
grab these.
Yeah.
So that's funny when we brought up Shinders, because I Shinders for me in my era when I was a kid was for Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
and like
Yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh
Pokemon
cards. And that type of stuff. So that's when I remember my first time going to Shinders and was just, man, I'd never seen so many Pokemon cards in my life. It was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, there were a lot of things, including
some other pokey stuff going on in the back.
Yeah, a lot of
the
Pokemon.
door that creaked.
Depends on what Pokemon you like. Pikachu.
Everyone knew that you were going to the back room because the door would creak.
Hey, shout out to Peps for just slinging great pizzas. So we've been talking about Pep's Legit Pizza for a few months, and now we introduce you to Pep's Green Mill Pizza. That's right, Green Mill, the iconic Green Mill restaurant that you already know, and now the legendary tavern-style pizza in your home via the freezer section of a local grocer. Extreme, Supreme, Il Primo, hand-tossed pepperoni, meat lovers, bake these restaurant-style pizzas, these Green Mill restaurant pizzas, to golden brown perfection in your own pizza oven. They also offer a soft breadsticks and sauces, too, at your local grocer. Learn more at greenmillfoods.com. North American Banking Company is helping to power Mackie and Judd here today, too, and our finances today. 6 locations in the Twin Cities. They are a Minnesota-based bank, and they can help you with everything from checking and savings all the way up to mortgages, starting a business, anything big that you might be financing. North American Banking Company, specializing in personal relationships, cutting-edge online tools. Go to nabanco.com/Mackie to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, and the Twins.
That's right. Big homestand. Big homestand coming up before the All-Star break. Got the Cubs, got the Rays, got the Pirates. I don't think you're going to see Paul Skeens, but maybe. Be ready for it in the event he's there. I don't know if Olivia Dunn would be there, but twins.com/tickets. Twins.com/tickets, the My Twins membership, the 612 Saturdays. Plenty of great options. Go to twins.com to learn more.
Hey, Judd. You were going to say something.
I was. To go back to your read on Peps.
Yeah.
Green Mill in particular.
Love Green Mill.
Where do breadsticks rate as far as things you don't need but you love to have food-wise? I love breadsticks.
This is a tough one.
Heated a little bit, warmed up.
Here's where I stand on them. I do not order breadsticks off a menu. If they are complimentary, awesome.
Okay.
I don't seek out the breadstick to pay. I don't purchase the breadstick.
But when they come like with the salad and they're warmed,
that's fine.
With the butter,
I'm a fan. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Can I tell? I don't want to say the name of this establishment because I don't want to disrespect the great Green Mill and Pep's Legit Pizza partnerships here. So I don't want to sully those partnerships by saying the name of this place.
Understand.
But my wife and I, we a few weekends ago, we were hungry. We had kind of an early dinner and a gathering. You know, you get back home and you're like, oh man, we got nothing in the fridge or the freezer, which is our fault. We just need like a little something. And so we ordered some breadsticks from a place that is famous for their breadsticks, a pizza place. They call them something else, but they're breadsticks. And so we ordered some, and they show up. No marinara sauce. No marinara sauce. And I was like, of course, I thought it was like my fault. Did I do something? Because we really wanted, you can't really eat these without the, like it's a 50-50 thing. Like you need the sauce to dip these in.
Another reason.
It's kind of, you probably know which place I'm talking about. And so I went and I looked, and sure enough, there's like a box that you're supposed to check if you want the sauce, which is my first problem. It's like if you're going to deliver breadsticks or have them available, there should be something for you to dip them in. That should not be like something you have to ask for or check. So we stubbornly said, well, it only took 10 minutes the first time. Let's run this back.
Oh my god.
Check the right box.
Oh my god.
And, we can have, if we have left over, we can have them throughout the weekend or the week or whatever, right? I checked the box this time and the extra box. Like, we want extra marinara sauce. They forgot to include it in the second order, too.
Yeah.
So now we're stuck with a mountain of breadsticks.
I
no
feel like
marinara
this was,
sauce.
I feel like when you missed out the first time, you just move on.
Should have folded.
I like,
Should've
you know
folded.
what? If you've got butter and breadsticks, I'm fine with it. I don't need the sauce.
Okay. Well, for this particular brand
Okay, all right.
of
I'm just telling you.
breadstick, it goes very well with the accompanying
There's
sauce. I'm just saying.
there is
Fair
a
enough.
accommodating
Should have done the Pep's pizza.
there is an accommodating store very close where you probably could have spent the same amount of time to just
It
go
was probably
across.
it was like after 10 o'clock, though.
Oh, was it after 10? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I
Well,
understand.
And
It was like,
convenience.
Understandable.
I will not criticize ever convenience here, but I feel like once you missed and doubled back down,
Yeah, man.
probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Probably should have moved on.
How
at
many
that point.
how many glasses of wine were had at dinner too before like I feel like
Enough to go round
Yes.
two
yeah,
fighting
I
over
can
the
tell-
marinara
because a
Give me that
sober-minded
marinara.
person would not have made this decision.
That's a good.
No, damn it.
No.
We are going to get what we want.
Give me back my
here.
marinara sauce.
Yeah. Okay, random season recall. The 1982 Pro Football Preview.
Wow.
Don Heinrich. I don't even really have questions for you guys. I'm just going to read some of this.
Okay.
So, their 1981 record, because this is previewing the 82 season, was 7-9. Head coach Bud Grant. Stadium, Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
First year
Do you know what the listed capacity was for the first year of the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome?
for football, probably something like 64,000.
62,212.
Yep.
So wasn't it the smallest capacity Super Bowl when it was here?
Oh, probably yeah.
I think it was.
Probably.
Yeah.
90.
So they go through each position group, like
Two.
wide receivers, tight ends. A maximum rating would be a 10. Don
Okay.
Heinrich gives the receivers a 7,
Okay.
gives the offensive line a 5.
Ooh.
Just tears
Sound
the
like-
offensive line to shreds here.
Sounds like.
Do you got some
every season.
names?
I mean, it's Wes Hamilton, Jim Huff, Brent Boyd.
Brent Boyd, yeah.
And then the quarterback section, old Tommy Kramer here.
Yeah, our
There
guy.
he is.
See him?
Is my guy.
Gives him a 7 out of 10 grade. Tommy Kramer has looked good at times as quarterback in the league. As good as as good at times as any quarterback in the league.
Okay.
His comeback record in the final 2 minutes has been spectacular.
2 minute Tommy.
2 minute Tommy.
Yep.
He's a gutsy leader with a big league arm, very quick setup and release, and the ability to avoid a rush. As was evidenced last season when he missed the first 2 games with knee problems, the Vikings are lost without Tommy Kramer. However, over the past 2 years, Kramer has blown hot and cold. In 1980, he threw 17 interceptions. Last year, he threw just 7, as the Vikings won 5 of the first 6 games, and then they fell apart in the second half of the season.
Yep.
The only explanation anyone seems to have for those horrendous streaks is that maybe Kramer's social life gets the best of him.
Wow. That was
He-
thrown in back then?
He entered a hospital for alcoholic treatment this last winter.
Oh, wow.
That's in the
I-
Pro Football Preview
That's remarkable.
Vikings section.
Wow. That got thrown in there.
That got dark fast.
Yeah, that really
Jeez.
did.
This
it went
PFF
from
digging into people's personal lives.
wow, Don. So this was So this for Tommy Kramer, this would have been his 4th year as the starter. Drafted in the first round in 77, 78's Tarks last year, and then I think Tommy took over in 79. So yeah, that was that did get dark really fast.
I
My
feel like
God.
that probably happens in today's NFL, and it just no one knows. A guy goes somewhere for a month or 2 in the off season, and the team keeps it hidden or something.
I guess at the time it was not quiet.
And then coaching and organization. So this is toward the end of the Bud Grant run here. 7 out of 10 for coaching. Disrespectful.
Oh yeah.
Bud Grant is the staple of the Minnesota organization. In his 15 years as coach, the Vikings have had just 3 losing seasons, 2 of them in the past 3 years. His forte is knowing personnel and utilizing it to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
More than being a master strategist, he has a keen instinct for the game. It refers to Mike Lynn as the general manager. Another plus for the organization was the recent construction of a new office training facility that's among the best in the league.
Winter Park,
at the
baby.
time, right?
Wow.
Winter Park. Do we still use Keen?
No, it's just a rat-infested dump.
Do we use Keen still in sports?
The word keen?
Yeah. A keen ability, a keen.
I feel like it is kind of a...
Feels like I don't
outdated.
read that Kevin O'Connell has a keen ability to do something.
No. You'd say KOC has Riz, right?
Yeah. Riz was yet to be invented as its current word form in 1982.
So he has what's called a TQ, which is like a talent quotient rating system.
Okay.
And you add it all up here, and it's a TQ of 60 for the Vikings out of a possible 100.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
So he doesn't particularly love.
And think
and
about
then he's got the draft results too. Darren Nelson, number 1.
Yep.
Vikings first.
Yeah. Passed on Marcus Allen.
Yeah.
Taken in that draft by the Raiders.
Probably a mistake there.
But look at the division, though, dude. NFL,
Yeah.
NFC Central, Detroit, complete joke. Packers, complete joke. Look at that Walter Payton sweetness,
awesome.
Sweetness. So Tampa Bay was 1, huh? They picked
They had
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they had Tampa Bay number 1 here with a talent quotient of 60.5.
Okay, because Tampa Bay made a run to the NFC Championship game. I think it was in '79 against the Rams and lost. And then I think they went back to being the Bucks after that. And Detroit was awful. Green Bay was terrible. If you look at what was Detroit's Riz score?
60.5, just a half point ahead of the Vikings, actually.
Wow.
Or the
Packers?
Packers were 55.
Yeah.
God, they were bad.
I love how we
And
talk
then
about
the
history.
Bears.
And we don't talk about the 70s and 80s Packers. They're a franchise that loves to talk about their history. Interesting.
Oh God, they were terrible.
Weird. Huh.
Post Lombardi until Holmgren.
Oh. Title Town.
I think Lindy and
Where's those
Fonte
titles?
got a decent season in the '80s. Well, but they do have Super Bowl titles. And
They
don't.
do. Yeah.
But
we
yeah,
talk
they're-
about history, but we just omit 20 years of what happened.
The better
they're
troll there,
terrible.
though, is the Badgers. Like, Badgers fans hate it when you point out how many more national titles the Gophers have in football than the Badgers.
Well, and the Badgers
It's
at that
embarrassing.
time also a complete joke in football.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is you look back at the Badgers, same thing in football and I think basketball, but football especially, they were atrocious.
Yeah. All right. Hey, that was a little fun little exercise there, gentlemen. Got some stuff off your chest here. Mackie and Judd, enjoy your 4th of July weekend. We'll see you guys for some statements. Write that down next week. Peace out.